Morning, Philip. How are you doing?
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
So Philip Skuman is in the building. He's the broker and owner of REMAX.
And I also want to say, if you've got any questions regarding the conversation we are having with Philip in the studio, please feel free to hoy those questions on 079-899-6226.
So does it happen a lot, Philip, where you find that people, went together to buy a property and then now one of them wants out and they don't even know where to start or how to start?
Yeah, so to answer your question, it happens a lot where people buy together. And it also kind of happens a lot where people want to back out of the transaction. To me, it's kind of irrelevant whether you're married or not because you have signed co-joint surety anyways. So it's basically like purchasing a property, with an investment company, something like that. So if you want to back out of the transaction, we've got to determine where we are in the transaction. Are you pre-transfer or post-transfer? If you're pre-transfer, then you might attract costs because you've applied, you've created the expectation with the seller, with the agent, with the attorney, and everyone is working, and then you want to back out before transfer, which means no one gets paid, which means you get sued.
And then
Post-transfer, it's the same. We're married
in maybe?
You're a couple of years in, you get divorced, you split up, either or, you still have to, either one party has to purchase out the other party, their share in the value, which could be cheaper because now you don't have to necessarily pay market related value. You could settle on a lesser amount and purchase out that person or the other party.
So what happens if the other party surrenders the property and just walks out?
Then you'll have to sign for the transfer. You'll have to sign that your name gets off the property. So a transfer will still have to be done. Your share needs to be transferred to the other party if you surrendered it. Most people don't do that. That's
I don't mean surrender the property, but you walk out and it's declared in the divorce decree to say, okay, so if you feel to keep the property, and then if it doesn't process, that follows after that because automatically the name of the person does not move out of the property.
Yeah. So in that scenario, you'll still have to either sell the property if the first person can't afford the entire bond, without the person that walked out, and then you'll have to sell it to the market. And we've got a scenario like that now where husband and wife have divorced, and in the decree of divorce, it stipulates that the wife gets the property. She now wants to sell it, but the husband's name is still on the property. So now we're selling it to the market, and now the husband doesn't want to sign. But it was in the decree of divorce, yeah. So it becomes a process after this anyway. So, the point is it'll have to be transferred to the person that's now going to own it. And this could be cash or bond. I've got another scenario now where the brother bought the property cash on the sister's name 100%.
Sure.
Okay.
The sister is the title deed holder now. The brother technically, legally has no say.
He bought it cash in the sister's name.
Yeah.
Okay.
And registered in the sister's name. Now he wants the money back for another endeavor that he wants to enter into, and he needs a portion of that money, only half, which was agreed beforehand, although 100% has been transferred to the sister.
And the sister has been using the house for leverage.
Yeah, bro. And now we're sitting in a scenario where the sister doesn't have a place to move to. No, but she also wants the money, but it's not going to be enough for her to set herself up in something else. So now, technically, we can't proceed because the brother needs the money, the sister doesn't want to sell, So it always remains who needs to sign for the property because it's registered. In fact, almost, I would say that these days, owning a property together is more ironclad of a tie than a marriage is. It's way easier to get divorced.
Does it make a difference if you are legally bound to someone and you get a property together, and you're not legally bound to someone, you get a property together? Is it like a difference in how those transactions
your surname's going to be different. That's it.
That's it.
But the actual fact is the bank is going to take into consideration both pay slips. Now the one pay slip falls away.
Okay.
You can't afford it by yourself. You need to probably sell it. Nobody's going to force you to do it. But if you can't pay, you're going to enter into a repossession scenario.
So, Philip, I'm a strategist at heart. Now, I'm trying to create a scenario in my head, and let's see if it makes sense or not. They are married. They go their separate ways. There's a divorce decree. One party says, remove my name from the property. And that obviously means a reapplication by the person who is left behind, right? Or transferring the bond to another institution.
Or writing off the money you invested.
Sure. So, what happens in that regard? Fearing that maybe you may not qualify to be financed, to be bonded by whatever bank or whatever institution. Do you drag that process? Showing the bank or the institutions that you have been affording this entire time?
So you have no any other reasons to rely on this 3 months bank statement.
A lot of people do that. They just continue paying the bond, and the other partner that walked away. It can happen, and then the bond is serviced by the one person. Sure.
And the other one would have no claim.
You would have a claim because remember on the title deed mentions you, so you've got to get, you got to be taken off, and that is a transfer process, and that transfer process will have costs. Whether you're not taking a bond, whether you are taking a bond, whether you are putting in cash to buy out the other partner,
Or wait for the property to be under a bar.
yeah, well, even though, and now you're sitting with, sometimes you are co-joined and you are, what do I want to say now? I can't remember. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's still the fact that you are connected via this property. You own an investment together, and one has got to be taken off.
Yeah. So this is a serious thing. You would advise people to act on this as quick as possible.
Yeah, well, a lot of people just, they just hang back. I've got another scenario where people have been divorced for 10 years, but they still own a property together and it's rented out. So then they share whatever agreements. And this can be amicable sometimes. Although,
Being the strategist I am, once again,
it tells me that if you divorced 10 years ago and the property has been on rental since then you must go and claim for whatever monies that have been generated by the property if your name has not been removed from there.
it depends on what the decree of divorce starts. Follow me for more financial advice. Can't take you every fruit.
Philip, we're going to leave it here. Thank you so much, Philip Schumann, broker and owner of REMAX.
thanks, guys.